Hello, this is Toshi, the conductor of the Eastern Connecticut Symphony Orchestra. We have a wonderful concert coming up on March 30th. That's Saturday evening, 7:30, and at the Garde Art Center in New London. And we are featuring our orchestra. Predominantly have a really fantastic program, but a difficult program in a way. We have Strauss's Don Juan and Brahms' Second Symphony, and Mahler's Lieder von eines Gesellen. But here today, I'm so excited to have a guest here. It's a composer and a living composer, friend of mine, Salvatore Di Vittorio. Hi, Salvatore.
Hi, Toshi. How are you?
Great to have you here. Thank you. And so we'll talk nothing but you and your piece in this interview. And so I think our audience is not so familiar about you, your life, and your background. So would you tell us about yourself? I know about you, but it's for that audience.
Sure. Well, I'm from Italy, and I work primarily in New York. I'm a composer, obviously, and published with Casa Ricordi, and I am a music director of Chamber Orchestra of New York, which has a concert series at Carnegie Hall. We're a chamber orchestra, so it's primarily between Weil and Zenkel halls at Carnegie Hall every year, and we are now in our 16th season, I believe.
Wonderful. And you and I met because you have invited me to participate as a faculty for the New York Conductors Workshop. And that's going on still. I mean, it's wonderful. And the next coming up in May, actually.
Right.
Maybe we should advertise it anymore.
Right.
So we I mean, here is to cater toward the young conductors who really was looking for career in conducting, and it's a great workshop. And is it still open application?
I believe the applications are closed now, but we welcome connections from young conductors all the time, and we communicate with them about it. And it's an important. I think it's one of our perhaps most important program, because our orchestra was founded for younger professionals, leading professionals in the city. And since the last 15, 16 years, we've built a tremendous following of players. We have a roster, and it really works with our orchestra because the orchestra is young, and this caters to young conductors, rising young conductors. So it's a really fantastic program, and I'm very grateful for your involvement and John Ferrer's, and we've had a really great time developing this. So, yeah.
I think it's important, yeah, and I really delightful to be included, and you're a great adventure there. Now talk about your piece that we are performing.
Yeah.
It is going to be. Is this going to be East Coast premiere? Is that what it is?
I would say, yeah, I would say the East Coast, the Connecticut premiere, absolutely. Yeah, it was world premiered. It was a commission, actually, from the. Yeah.
You've been Italian. I'll let you tell audience the Italian title of your piece.
Right. So the Italian title is Fanfara del Mare su un tema di Monteverdi. So Sea Fanfare on a theme of Monteverdi.
Wonderful. Thank you for doing that for me. I'm quite excited, and it's a wonderful piece, delightful piece. And maybe you could talk about the work for us.
Yeah. So it's based on actually a madrigal of Monteverdi that has to do with the sea, how tranquil the sea is. Tranquillo. I think the actual title is "O sia tranquillo il mare, pieno di orgoglio," full of pride. And it's about I chose it because the San Diego Symphony in 2015 had given me a commission to write an overture. It's basically an overture, 5 minutes long, in celebration of their centennial, the centennial actually of Balboa Park, which is the most important park. which also has an organ pavilion, the Spreckels Organ Pavilion. And so they wanted a connection with the organ. And the result was I added organ as not as a solo instrument in the piece, but as an orchestral piece. But the organ kind of leads throughout the piece. As a matter of fact, the organ, it goes through Balboa Park, and obviously there's a lot of Spagnola-ish music in it.
Yes.
There's fanfares and a lot of Spanish flair, and the organ leads from the very beginning. One of the depictions is the famous Balboa Park merry-go-round.
Yeah.
I had this sort of effect. Obviously I'm a neoclassical composer and it's a tonal piece, but I had this effect of a bit of a collage where there's this sort of lush romantic melody that sweeps through the orchestra, and it continues and it washes over as you're sort of walking towards the merry-go-round, and then the merry-go-round takes over and the organ is dominant there. And I actually try to do like a little bit of a free transcription in a way of the tune of the merry-go-round from the actual merry-go-round in Balboa Park, and I rewrote it to make it orchestral at that moment in the piece. But what can I say besides that? It's got all these different. Balboa Park is featured throughout the piece, obviously, but I wanted to capture, and this is very personal to me. I've always loved capturing the sea in several of my compositions. So this was a fun sort of opportunity for me to bring that passion out more obviously. And so it begins with this effect of the sea and it ends that way. And I've been told that's where you hear a bit of Respighi and that sort of
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
Way.
How about the Monteverdi's theme? Where does it?
You hear it at the very beginning where the organ comes in, very beginning, and then the motive is sort of used as an inspiration piece for new melodies that happen throughout the entire piece. But also the theme of the Monteverdi, the idea of the sea being sort of throughout the entire composition.
Well, this is great for us too. Also, New London is by the ocean.
That's right. I thought of that too.
So
yeah,
we're performing now. I mean, this was premiered in the Southwest in California, San Diego.
Right.
We're bringing to the northern east part of the United States. I would say extremely north, but so I'm delighted that we could do this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me and having the composition, Maestro. I really appreciate it. It'll be a lot of fun.
Delighted. Now let's talk about your association with Respighi and Respighi family, and we very much like to hear, and I'm sure audience would like to hear that too.
Thank you. So it started. I'll sort of summarize. It started, I think, around 2000. Before 2008. The culmination was 2008 of the story, but basically I had a few early on. I had a few conductors in Italy. I was there more between Italy and New York all the time. My family was kind of back in Italy, and a number of conductors in Italy in different cities who didn't know each other were beginning to regularly program some of these early works of mine, tone poems, with Respighi's music. And someone I think after a Rome concert, where I think they paired my string symphony with Ancient Airs and Dances No. 3, which is also for strings. And after that program, someone wrote in the paper, this young Italian composer is following in the footsteps of Respighi. And somehow it got back to a musicologist and his great nieces. And someone came to the concert, introduced himself, and then eventually had me meet at their home in Rome, the two Respighi's great nieces, Elsa and Gloria Pizzoli. And that's how the conversation, started. And they told me that they were kind of eyeing me for this project. They were looking at a few composers that had a lot of the same sort of interests that their great uncle did. And I was, very, very, just very fortunate opportunity for me, and that they ended up choosing me to be the composer that would complete his first violin concerto, which was a humongous honor for me. The third movement was incomplete, and publish it with Casa Ricordi, and that sort of led to then also the commission as a whole involved that work, orchestrating the completion of another work, the three lyrics for mezzo and orchestra, and then editing first printed editions of a handful of works that precede Fountains of Rome, which is sort of his first big mature composition. And that's how that started. And then I was able to bring the project over to Naxos, and we started to record.
That's right. You should have mentioned that. How many CDs do you have with Naxos now?
I think we're about to release. I think in October, it's either our 7th or our 8th. I've lost.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So our audience could listen to your work as well on the CD.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So of course there's an anniversary of Respighi coming up, right?
Yes. So in the US, we don't really honor much the death anniversary as they do in Europe. In Europe, the death anniversary will probably be marked. He was born in 1879 and died in 1936. 2026 is the 90th anniversary of his
death. His anniversary.
Right, and the other is the 29 is the 150th of his birth.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So going to be doing
planning there's some events already. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I hope to be a part of it.
Yes. That'll be great.
So, and you now live in New York State with a family.
Yeah.
And your wife is also viola player, string player.
Piano. He's learning piano. But my wife is a viola player, right.
Viola player.
Yeah.
So, and she also plays in the orchestra and everything. It's wonderful. So you will be at the audience in our performance, yes?
Absolutely. We're very much looking forward to it. We'll be there.
Perhaps, Salvatore, you could speak briefly about your piece before we perform. How's that?
Oh, that would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's just invite you to the stage and just talk briefly about your work, so audience could, know what to.
Yeah.
Capture.
That would be. Thank you. That would be a lot of fun. We could do that.
We will do it. So, anything else you'd like to say, maybe to our audience?
Yeah. No, it's just a real honor to be with you and for you to have me and the composition. I'm really fond of this particular piece of music. I think it encapsulates a lot of what my music does in 5 minutes. You have it's all neoclassical. It's all based on lyricism and melody. The orchestration is very important. I write by pencil and manuscript paper the old-fashioned way, and so melody is very important to me. And I think it captures the different elements, the melodic, sort of romantic, lush side, but also the fanfare side and the more Richard Strauss elements. So I was really thankful when I heard about the program. It's very intimidating to have all of my heroes on the same program.
No. Your piece kind of stand itself was great. Anyway, so the concert is on Saturday, March 30th at 7:30 in Garde Art Center in New London, and our composer Salvatore Di Vittorio will be there. And speaking about the piece, just before we perform Sea Fanfare on the theme of Claudio Monteverdi, and in Italian it's called Fanfare.
Fanfara del mare. So technically, fanfare of the sea, although sea fanfare.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And looking forward to see you and perform your work. And
Thank you so much, Toshi. Looking forward to it. See you soon.